What's going on, world? It's your man, Mr. Mac.
I'm Crystal Levin.
This is the M+M+M show, aka the
Okay.
show coming to you live and direct with a young lady who has a lot of advice for young men who need a lot of advice when it comes to young ladies and young ladies of a very specific breed. But if you don't know, I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not, because that would be wrong because I'm not a young lady. But she happens to be one. So she's going to tell you before I do. Young lady, could you please state your name so people know that I'm not lying?
Sure. Well, I'm not young, but I pretend sometimes I am. But I'm Elena St. James, and I'm a creator online. But I also wrote a book called How to Date Hot Older Women by a Mature Model. That's me.
Older is a relative term.
Well, it is. And that's funny. I addressed that in the book. I'm like, older when you're 19 is 25.
Right.
When, but when you're 25, you really have to get more to 35, 40 when it's older. So it depends on how old you are. It's relative. Absolutely.
I was going to say, people say when they get each year older, do you feel it? And you're like, I still feel this old. My mom still thinks she's 28 in her head. She's like, I look in the mirror and it doesn't reflect what I feel, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm 35 now and I am shocked. There's certain categories that now if I got pregnant, it's a geriatric pregnancy.
I had my son at 42.
And bodybuilding competitions, 35 is the masters. So
yeah.
Old women.
Right. 35, it's now you're in a geriatric. And so I was just like, when I was pregnant at 41, I'm like, well, is there even a term? Like, it's so far out.
Yeah,
pregnancy is it a decrepit pregnancy now?
No. The term is, wow, really?
Well, the term is, thank you, medical science. Thank you, donors. That's the term. Yeah.
Like a word? What do you call that pregnancy? Damn. All right. Well, shit.
And I did great. You know what, though? But so much of life is attitude. Mm-hmm. And so much of life is attitude. And that's part of part of the book, part of my success being a mature model, being a model over. Last year at this time, I didn't have an Instagram. I had never done any of this. And then, I got into the OnlyFans world and Twitter and all these other places.
What was the thing that got you in? Somebody's suggestion, a web article? What was it?
That's it. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. I saw this web article. I saw two, and they were both MILFs. So they were both like over 40. Both of them were very attractive, obviously, but they weren't like Christy Brinkley, they weren't like, oh my God, they weren't supermodels. They weren't well known. And I'm like, wow. And they don't actually physically, they're not physically out there. They're, they're safe. They're at home. They're doing this. They're taking pictures. And they're making really good money. And at the time I was making very little money, but I was doing it because it was a good day job. It was good to be a mom, to be taking care of my kiddo as a single parent. And I thought, wow, if I could make a tenth of what these women are purporting that they're making,
right,
this would be life-changing. And so, it's kind of like when life gives you an opportunity, you take it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, I was weighing the pros and cons. What do I have to lose? I'm totally single, so I don't have to worry about a special man telling me I don't want you to do this or having a problem with it. I had a child on my own, so my family already knows that I beat to a different drum. Yeah.
What the hell was that?
That was an animal. Either that or somebody needs to eat lunch.
I had a child of my own too. It's insane.
Why is the dog mad at the drum? It just had a beat to a different drum.
No, that's how he talks. It just sounds. When people are like that, she's not mad. That's just her face. Yeah. He's like, yay, and it's like.
Yeesh.
But then he talks.
So that's how it happened. I saw these articles, and then I was like, okay, and I didn't show my face at first. And then I got my first 2 subscribers on OnlyFans, and this was the crazy thing. I really thought that I didn't know what my niche was going to be, but then I found these young guys that were in their 20s that were into me. And I'm like, what? Me? My mom had said, you disappear after you're 40 to men. you know, for the most part, you disappear.
Become invisible.
You become invisible. And so then I'm like, it was kind of like the Scooby-Doo, what? What?
That has never been true. I've never known that to be a
Favorite
reality.
lie to tell. Society's lie to tell.
Yeah, but that's like never been true. There's so many myths around age in general that just when you look at the facts, when you just look at the facts, you don't have to go further. You don't have to. I can understand the cliches. We've all heard them enough. The little sayings, you disappear after all that stuff. But then when you compare that to reality and you think back to your own life, you don't have to go much further. Me personally, in school, looking at teachers who were easily 35 plus, 40 plus, and us crushing on these women who were just voluptuous all over the place. And this is the age where you discover what kind of man you are specifically, i.e., if you're a leg man, if you're a boob man, if you're an ass man, if you're a face. This is how you find it, because these teachers were coming through the door with these tight little skirts on, and like none of that has ever been true.
Mac, I have the answer. I actually just figured it out. Who tells the story is old white men. They control the narrative. So old white men like younger and younger.
Yeah.
Specific.
To a great degree.
Bigger butts. It's like, does this make my butt look big? It's because a specific type of person spins the narrative or just, gets their voice heard. And it's people that like skinny, young white women.
Well, it's the fashion industry.
Color, it's age, it's the fashion industry, but it's who likes it, because guys like you or guys that do like older women or curvy women or whatever, they're not either the what's the term I'm looking for?
Misogyny?
Misogyny?
Yeah, it's the misogyny, but it's the patriarchy.
Patriarchy, yeah.
It's older white men that
it's true. When you think about goddesses back in like the day or Renaissance art, you have curvy and you have dimples on their butt and you have the voluptuous natural big boobs. And I mean, really as a 54-year-old, I remember when having big lips was not a good thing, because I grew up in the time of Christy Brinkley and Cheryl Tiegs and Farrah Fawcett. Waspy, blonde, skinny, small. That was it. That was the pinnacle, like late 70s, early 80s.
Do these pants make my butt look big? It's like
100%. Do these now I'm sticking my butt out as much as possible because I have a white, smaller butt. And I'm like, how do I make it look bigger on camera?
You're right. You're actually talking to the right person. She has a whole campaign, Build the Butt campaign. She's as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But we also don't shame people that do get work done. I don't want to upkeep that kind of thing. Or once you get it, people are impressed by it, and then in the back of my head, I'm like, it's not mine. Like I bought it or something. I like to be proud of mine.
Hey, listen, hold on. No, time out. If it's yours, you brought it. Like damn that. If it's yours, you brought it. I'm all for you do whatever you want to do.
No, I agree. I said for me personally, if I bought something, I would feel like it's not. You're complimenting something, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not really.
You feel you cheated?
Well, a little bit, but it's like it's hard to take. If you won the lottery, people are like, yo, you did so well in life.
Yeah, but that's like anything. Listen, like I'm almost 5'10". If somebody's going to be like, oh my God, you're 5'10", I'm like, yep.
Mm-hmm.
We all get some sort of lottery when we're born,
Mm-hmm.
You just accept it. And you have deficits, you have things. But what I love about now and what I love about young people is their acceptance. And I love that big booties and big thighs and like all these things that when I was growing up were not okay. I love that this is all okay now. I love that you can have all these things. And I have to say, I mean, obviously, like I have a sister who's Caucasian, but she always had like the bubble butt. She didn't realize what an asset that was until she married a black guy. And she was just like, he loves it. I've never felt so accepted and loved and wanted and desired. And it was like, she was just like, yes. But it's common culture now.
You feel attracted to be appreciated for what you really are or what you bring to the table. Speaking of which, back to the old thing, the older woman thing.
Yeah.
you discover that people online liked you younger, like younger guys liked you. Do you date younger in real life?
So here's the deal. No, I really haven't dated much in the last 2 years since I started this COVID, of course. And here's the thing, you talk about, especially men that I've traditionally dated around my age, they're always on dating apps. They always want younger. Like, as I got older, I just noticed it was like, okay, I was 45. Guys that were 45 wanted to be with somebody that was, sometimes it'd be ridiculous, like 18 to 35. I'm like, really? You're a 45-year-old man. You really want an 18-year-old to date?
What are you going to talk about? Maybe
yeah,
not.
it's like, come on. I understand. Like, we all like young, supple bodies. Like, I get it.
Youth is beautiful.
It's beautiful. But on the other side, it's like, okay, past that.
Well, no, there is no past that. If I could just play devil's advocate one time, that there is no past that. There's the family van, there's the sports car, there's the car in the between. Like, if you've been driving the car in between and then had the family van, and now neither one of those are something that you need, yeah, you go get the sports car. And if I'm gonna rock out for like the next however long I have left, I'll just spend it in the sports car. Like, I totally get it. Now, when you say, what are you going to talk about? They're not dating these women to talk. That's not what the goal is. And I totally get it. It's not me personally. 19-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 20-something-year-olds drive me crazy. Like, I can't just listening to the things that they care about are enough to make me jump out of the window and cut my throat on the way down.
Subject matter and interest.
No, it's a maturity level.
It's life experience. This is what I bring up in my book. I talk about, like, okay, like, we all understand the inherent beauty of a young, supple body. Like, male, female, it doesn't matter. Like, it's great. And we rarely appreciate it when we're that age. But, I was definitely very self-critical about myself when I was younger, as so many women are, right? It's so funny. And as I would get older, I would notice on these dating apps, these guys would be like athletic in tone. And then they would have big beer guts, and they would be like softball players once in a while. And that was but yet, so they would look at themselves like, there's that picture, that meme where it's like a little kitten that looks at themselves and they see a big lion. Mm-hmm. So especially, and I will say, I don't want to make this into a race thing, but especially white men, as they get older, I think they are just delusional of what they look like. Like, they really think like, no, I'm hot.
Right.
And I should get a 20-year-old.
This level woman.
And I should get a 20-year-old because I don't want an older woman. So a lot of my fans are younger. They're in their 20s. They're white, they're brown, they're whatever. They're a lot of, which is awesome. I love it. And it's the dynamic that I didn't know, because if you're on a dating app, once in a while I would get approached by a younger guy, but obviously until last year, I didn't even realize there was this dynamic. I didn't understand that there was this dynamic with younger guys wanting to be with an older woman. And we all know, like, Ashton Kutcher and that sort of thing. Yeah, but he had Demi Moore, but yet it wasn't for a long term. So there's different things. It's like, if you're an older woman and you want to date a younger man, well, you have to understand he might want a kid someday. He might want to have what you can't provide him. So it's essential that both parties are kind of like, okay, are we in this for long term, or are we in this for now? Mm-hmm. Because it's a real issue. And if you're a younger, older woman, so if you're like in that 35 to 40 and you're dating a 25-year-old, that's a conversation. I talk about it in the book. Like, don't waste her time. She has this amount of time to have a baby. And if she's in that last stage of really being able to become a mom, don't waste her time. Exactly. TikTok.
Clock is ticking.
Right. TikTok. She doesn't have the time. So just be honest with her and say, like, I'm really into you, but not for the long haul. So there's different, but if she's past 50, she's done having her kids, then hey, go for it. But still know, if you're an older woman, the guy might decide he wants to be a family man at some time. So it might not be forever.
We've talked to several women, especially in the adult industry, who we've talked about in the race aspect of things, in the color aspect of things, like size, and the word fetishism comes up. Like, is it a fetish to like older women, or is it a preference? Is it a, you know what I mean? Is it?
It might verge on fetish. It might verge on fetish. I got to tell you, I think really because they get into it's the teacher, it's the stepmom, it's the aunt. Those are the three. So it's not just older woman. It's the illicit, like, hey, dad's away. Wanna do it?
My stepmom's pretty hot, not related.
Right, exactly, not related.
I was with you till you hit me with the aunt thing. Ooh.
Oh no, the aunt thing is a very strong component. Now, I don't know if that's a cultural thing, but yeah, the aunt, or maybe it's. I mean, but aunt, though, think about it. It might be your uncle's hot new wife.
Sure.
Not your mom's sister, you know.
I mean, yeah, we need clarity here.
No, but there's also people that are into their wife and her mom, or your.
I've done a mother-in-law. I've done a mother-in-law at request that has sold. So there are younger guys that, I mean, I've heard from guys. I mean, talk about, you definitely, when you start having this kind of business, you understand some psychology here. And there are definitely younger guys that are like, oh my God, I love my wife or my girlfriend, but my mother-in-law is really hot.
Right. And you know what I think is, some of it is the visual, like you said, some of it's the illicit. And I'm sure a large part of it is things that they can't explore with a quote unquote real partner. I always say that
the fantasy.
People that have been, talk to us about any sort of BDSM or escorting and all that stuff. It's like, it's not just paying for sex, it's paying for an experience that they can't be honest about somewhere else.
And that's the tragedy.
But someone wouldn't genuinely understand. It's like, okay, fine, I'll spank you, but I'm not turned on by spanking you. But if you're the guy that wants to play baby, like, how else are you going to get that?
That's right. And that's the tragedy. I think the biggest flaw we have is the lack of honesty on both sides. And I tell women all the time, men do not trust women with their truth. Women will throw their truth all over the place, scream it for the highest mountain, let the whole world know this is my truth. Men, in general, Black men and Black women definitely have a different dynamic. It's more intense, but across the board, men as a whole do not trust women with their truth. The judgment that comes back, that's levied against a man when he's honest about the thing he wants or the thing he's into, or the thing that turns him on, or the thing he doesn't like. He has to lie about his wife's cooking, let alone let her know that, hey, I've actually, experienced a bunch of threesomes when I was coming up, and I'd like for that party to continue. I would like to not stop.
Well, I like fingering my butt, and that doesn't make me gay. Like, you don't want to admit
stuff like that. And if there's anyone on earth that you should be able to express that to in your sober mind state, it really should be your wife. But men do not trust women with their truth. And if we could get past that, I imagine it would be women would be fascinated to realize just how diverse men actually are in real life.
But then would they come to her OnlyFans anymore?
Well, I mean, maybe they would, because they're still, maybe they want to be married. Like, most of the guys that are younger, and I have older guys on my page too. I mean, it's funny because a lot of times guys will write to me and they'll be like, I'm only 28. And I'm like, well, you're actually on the older side of my demographic. But they'll say that. But so I have older guys, I have younger guys, but they'll be dating in real life age appropriate women. And that's okay. I think that's totally fine. I get it. I'm a mom. Like there's some just practical differences that maybe you want to have this fantasy and what would it be like to be intimate with an older woman? But in reality, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to date an older woman because I wouldn't have anything to talk to her about. We wouldn't really get along, but we can get along online, and she can be sweet and fun. And I can, what was that?
I was gonna say in this specific space and place.
Exactly. And I make it safe. One of the things that my guys like is that I'm nice. Like I'm a nice, friendly neighborhood mom, and I just have a naughty, spicy side. So they feel safe and they, they request things. And it is interesting because usually what I find is that guys, and I have a lot of model friends, and so we talk because we're women, we talk about things. And one of the things that I found is so interesting is they want things that they can't get in real life, right? So older, okay. But it's also like, even like pubic hair, that's such a thing right now. And I did laser stuff. I'm pretty open about things. Sorry if I'm shocking anybody.
No, I'm more making faces at the guys, not you specifically.
Yeah. So guys, a lot of guys are really into like full bush now. I can't do that. I've had like laser, hair removal years and years ago, but they're into it. Why? Because all the women they're dating are probably shaving and getting waxed. So they want what they can't have. Like there's not as much of that. So they want what they can't have.
Salute. Good for you. I prefer clean workspace myself, but I mean, whatever floats your boat or finds.
I'm just telling you, that's a lot of times guys are like, oh, this is what I'm really into. The other thing that really surprised me is, so I have a Mom-Bod. I like to eat, and I say things like, this is why I can't have nice things like abs. Because number one, I'm not willing to put in the work. And number two, I like to eat good stuff. Like I like food. I like sweets.
Stuff, not cardboard.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I found that these guys like my stomach. Like they like the little pooch. They like the little stomach, the mom. And I think it's almost a psychological thing with a comfort. And I think there's like the mom bod has become, and hey, I like a good dad bod, because I'll tell you what, I've dated sticks and they're uncomfortable to date. Like I want a guy.
Muscle is,
yeah. I want something to grab onto.
There was a study.
I don't like really skinny guys. Like, no shame on them if they can't control that.
No, but there was a study about that. Women prefer dad bods because it reflects a man who's been domesticated. He's settled down, and that's more attractive to women when you look settled down, as opposed to when you're working out, you look like you're still trying to attract other, right? You're still trying to attract. But if you have a dad bod, you give the appearance of being settled and being stable,
maybe.
Stable, settled, the whole thing. And women are attracted, physically attracted to a man who presents that. I think that's why when this started going nuts, it's been there for a while, but now that it's super pronounced, I've got like,
those are people that are actually just listening on the radio. He's talking about the gray in his beard. This started going nuts.
Right, yeah, I forgot
this
about
thing
that.
over here started going nuts.
He's pointing up.
Right. Or you could actually go watch the video, tune in on YouTube if you're missing stuff. Yes, but when this started going nuts, I noticed a lot more attention from women who were pushing baby carriages. And it was like, oh, well, this is new. Ma'am, how can I help you? Like, I wasn't sure exactly what to do with that, but all of a sudden I get gray. I let the gray hair just flourish on my face, and here comes this whole other section of women who find it attractive. So I think there are age markers with everything, but for me that kind of leads back to the original conversation, right? Like, if we were being super logical about the entire thing, you should be able to walk up to a woman, and everyone understands that there are more women than men. So if we're all gonna couple up, somebody's gonna have to share. How about you go get an older homegirl, and like, the three of us will be in this house at the same time, and let's just rock out that way. But if you tell that to your girlfriend, she's gonna lose her shit.
But listen, when I find out, my favorite thing is that you don't get what you really want if you don't say what you really want. Right. People put on a facade because they think it's what other people are looking for. And then people that want what you pretended to be. So they're never gonna want what you actually are unless you're actually honest about what you actually are. So the more times that you get uncomfortably honest, it's gonna, yes, you're gonna not get the ones that were after the fake you, but you'll actually get the people that want the real you.
Being authentic.
Freeing.
Being authentic.
That sounds great. That sounds great. On paper, it sounds amazing. I'm gonna lead back to my other statement.
I've dated entire people that didn't like the real me because I didn't show certain parts of myself. Yeah. And once I did, they no longer wanted to be with me. And I was like, then I was with the wrong person.
You are a woman and you're speaking from an anecdotal situation. And I don't
ex-husband, bro.
I don't listen. I'm not again. I don't. Yes, it's straight up and down anecdotal. That is your experience as a woman in this country. What I'm telling you is men do not trust women with their truth at that level. The whole thing you just explained, being the real you.
But I'm suggesting that if you did, you would find people that really did appreciate
I believe you. What I'm telling you is they don't trust it. Like the men who are hearing this, it sounds good that you're saying it. They don't believe you.
I get why it doesn't happen. I'm saying, hypothetically, what if the world was beautiful and people were honest?
Well, I guess here's the bridge between the two of you. What I'm hearing is like, okay, so how does society make it safe for men to speak their truth? Number one. Number two, how do we make it safe for women to be who we really are? And to be okay with that. I think it gets easier as we get older because the whole shoulds, like I remember, like, oh, did I say that right? Did I not do this? When I was younger, when I was in my 20s, like, oh, and I remember an older friend of mine said, no, here's the thing. Do you like him? So it's not all about, well, does he like you? Do you like him? And it would be like, I never even thought about that because we're conditioned. Yeah. We're conditioned to make men like us. But there's a couple things. Men, how do we make them free? So that's the question. How do we make them free? They have to be courageous and they have to risk it. But women have to risk it too. They have to risk it by, being able to express themselves. I mean,
accept each other's truth. I think the responsibility is on both of us, right? For women to feel safe to be ourselves is to trust a man to not judge us. There's the sexual freedom that we have now. We can wear pants, we can vote, we can also have gangbangs if that's what we're into. It's still not, necessarily celebrated, but we're allowed to share our truth a lot more than men are.
Yes,
I get it.
Yes, and my pushback also comes into place that women are judged more harshly, in my opinion, by other women than they are by men.
100%.
We dress for each other, everything.
Yeah. We're not the ones calling you all the bad names as much as it's popular to believe that. Men will still marry the women who get called all these bad names. These women still get husbands who end up happy as shit riding off into the sunset with this woman who did X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3. It's the women who judge these other women super harshly. And these are the same women who are in turn judging these men. So this is where, and this is where I start getting into sticky conversations because I tell women, well, this is kind of on you guys to fix because you're the biggest perpetrators. You judge each other, you judge us. The judgment is like really centered in one space. We're not judging as much as you ladies are.
It's really hard to get out of that. And I'll tell you why, because there's billions of dollars that go into making us hate ourselves.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars. I'm not blaming the Kardashians, but it's the idea of perpetrating self-hate because then you can sell something to fix it.
Yeah. It's a drug.
Whatever, lipo, if your skin fillers, eyebrows gotta be thicker, now thinner, now this, like hate yourself just enough that you can buy a product to slightly fix it. And
what's really weird? Do you remember the Dr. Seuss, the Sneetches? It was remember the Sneetches, at first you were like really cool if you had the star. It was a real interesting commentary if you look at it. you were cool if you had the star, and then you had to have 2 stars to be cool. Then you had to have no stars to be cool. And it's this mechanism, but here's the thing. I am older. I don't have a perfect body. So I am age positivity, body positivity. I get women of all ages and men. I'm kind of a living example of, you don't have to have a perfect body. You don't have to have, you don't have to be young, but you can have, and you can contribute to society by having a good attitude. Because that's one thing I can really control. I can really control my attitude. And
I saw your page, and the first thing I thought, because judgy women, I was like, not a perfect body, but super freaking confident. Go girl. Like, that's what I thought. Immediately it went from, she gets paid to be like half naked.
I know, isn't it crazy?
You know what I mean? But I saw it and I was like, that's really dope. It's a specific, it's a specific interest, and it's a really positive message.
Yeah. I'm waiting for cellulite to come in to fashion. I really would like, hey, Kardashians, I'd like you to work on this. I want cellulite to become a thing, like big butts, so that people go and get little liposuction to give them dimples on their back of their butts. When is that going to come into fashion? Because then I'm going to rock that.
You just have to be in the Black community. We've been celebrating.
You like the dimples too? Wait a second.
Are you nuts? I'm here for all that. All that.
You have this kind of a white saggy butt.
Listen, I get in the 3-point stance and tackle it and take it down. Like, you can't. Here I come. Hut.
No, but I love that. I love that influence, that other body type. So we're in a better space than we were 20, 30 years ago. We really are. It's still a problem. It's still a filler. And I got to tell you, I've had filler. I get Botox. I'm not going down without a fight, but I'm also not going under the, I'm not having major surgery done. Mm-hmm. But that's your choice, right? I mean, it's everybody's choice. And it's funny because there have been a couple times that I thought, oh, maybe I should get a tummy tuck. And then I brought it up to maybe one of my fans, and he's like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. And I'm like, yay, I love this. But that's why I get such a kick out of what I do. Because it's almost like, really? I get to do this and people pay to see this? This is hilarious. And it's awesome. And yes, here I am.
How much do they pay? I'm so curious for people that aren't on OnlyFans, and how much is a subscription?
Ladies, get your notepads out. Here it comes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, okay, here's the lowdown. So, usually about $10, $5, $10 is, and then usually, and I would say this is across the board with OnlyFans, is you have to pay extra for the videos. I'm a solo creator, so and it's funny, it's not that I necessarily want to be a solo creator, it's just I am, and I don't just randomly hook up with people. So right now I don't have any boy-girl stuff, it's just me. So, but I do a lot of fantasy stuff, and some of my guys prefer that because they don't want to see me with a real guy. So that's, that's okay. But I will tell you that I have made more money. I've made more money doing this than I've ever made before, and I was a national sales manager of a consumer products company. So I made okay money before, but last year I did over 6 figures, and I started in the spring. So I'm making more money than I ever have before, but it doesn't just happen, because I had a friend of mine helped a woman get into this, but she wasn't feeding the animal, as I call it. She wasn't doing the social media. She wasn't taking a lot of pictures. She wasn't having fun doing it. That's what, I don't have the perfect body, but what I do is and what I'm told is that I have a good energy that comes out. That's my selling point. I smile. I noticed a lot of women on Instagram didn't smile. They would try to be sultry, which is fine. And it works. I just look like I'm an angry old lady if I'm not smiling. So I smiled, and I also smile because I'm like, can you believe I'm doing this? It's kind of I look at my audience like a wink, yeah, I'm doing this.
I always
Isn't
say
it crazy?
people like Tony Robbins and stuff. I'm like, yeah, you're happy and positive because look at what you made. But it's a ball rolling down the hill. Once you start, the good attitude, the positivity, the hard work turns into something, and you're kind of like, damn.
Well, you contribute. So you contribute or you contaminate in any relationship, and that's even a relationship with social media. Either you are putting out good vibes. Like my whole thing is, they might subscribe to my OnlyFans, they might not, but I want to leave people, when they come on my page, I want them to at least smile or feel better. Just feel better. Life is hard, you know? Life is tough. There are a lot of crappy things about life. You get attacked by little dogs on your couch.
I brought my training tool out. It's like what's it called? Like a sonic something or other.
Oh yeah.
No, he's a Euro.
But I want people to feel good. I want people to feel good. One of the reasons I wrote the book is because these guys had these questions. And I was like, dude, here's what you do not do with an older woman. There are similarities, but there are differences. Here's the difference. Older women don't have time for your crap. They just don't. I don't have time for it. I have a kid. I have an aging mom. I have responsibilities. I don't have time for games. Don't send me a text at midnight because I'm going to think my mom fell down and broke her hip. Don't do that. You know, like you could do that when I was 25 and I'd put up with it. I don't put up with that shit anymore. That's the big difference. So there are differences. There are similarities.
Like you said about insecurity when you're young. Did I say it right? Did I whatever?
Yeah.
I say to my friends sometimes, even my girlfriends, right? I'm like, I know I can be harsh. I know I can be blunt, but I'm just going to say I'm going to say my truth. I'm not going to be harsh. I mean, mean, but I'm going to say what I need to say because then I'm going to get what I need to get. If you're talking my ear off, I'm like, I'm not here for it right now. I can't handle that. Not in that space, not the counselor hat, not your, I just want to have a drink. Let's just chill. Like I'd say what I need to say, even if it's not what you want to hear. And we get that way with a little age.
We do, because we're not,
outcome.
Yeah, I mean, but it can be really good and effective to the right guy, and it comes down to respect. And when you get to a certain age, you kind of like, I'm just not, and it's funny because guys always say, no matter what age they are, they say, I don't want a woman that plays games, right? Am I right? All men say that, and a lot of younger women do create self-drama because they want the rush of it. They like the rush of it. I get it. I lived it. I used to have friends that were like that. I probably did some of it myself, like going after the bad boys or going after guys that really weren't into me. But it was self-created drama because I didn't have anything else to do. Guess what? I have enough drama right now. I don't need more drama.
Okay.
And that's one of the differences dating an older woman. Like life is hard enough. I mean, you know, I've gone through some garbage in my life, as most women, especially once you've hit an age. You don't need to create more of a roller coaster, you know?
Where were you raised, by the way? Your accent, it sounds like Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, in Wisconsin.
Oh, hey now.
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
He's had
little words throughout it, and I was like, wait, where?
I know, especially if I say Wisconsin. That's usually, don't you know?
There it is. There it is. There it is. I can smell the cheddar from here.
No, you know what? I'll tell you what. I've decided, I'm just going to say it. When it comes to cheese and when it comes to curds, when it comes to cheese curds, Munster cheese curds are the best. Just, that's a little tip on life from a cheesehead.
Which is actually funny because never considered which ones.
I know. That's why I'm here. I'm to enlighten.
I'm still thinking.
You thinking about cheese curds or how to make men safe in an emotional context and talking to women?
I don't think hold on, Chris. I don't think any of the three of us are going to live to see that time. I think it can happen.
Oh, the emotional.
But I'm not sure.
We are going to, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I have a middle school kid. Mm-hmm. And he is so accepting and so open. And I see these other kids and they're accepting and they're open. I mean, the sea change of these kids and what they're accepting as far as being trans, non-binary, it's really
to them. It's their actual just life.
It's like, their life. doesn't even matter.
It doesn't.
I mean, you have kids that are in middle school. Like when I was in middle school in the late 70s, early 80s, you called somebody gay. That was a bad thing. Like that was a thing. It was a thing. Now there are kids that are like, what's their name now? You know, my kid's just like, oh yeah, well they're trans. Like, no big deal. This is huge as far as understanding and being open.
You're right. You're right. Where I think we go left is where we always go left. This generation, the generations behind us, are also there's a sense of entitlement, and there's a sense of self-centeredness because your phone makes you the star of your own reality show, which is why TikTok and Instagram are now through the roof, because you get to be your own personal star. Here's the thing. Whenever your ego or whenever your star is bruised by someone else's actions, that's when the judgment comes out. And that's when the "you shouldn't do that" comes out. And that's when the sensitivity of this generation also shows itself, because their feelings need to be considered at every level. And we've lost the idea of hypersensitivity. We don't think about, okay, wait a minute, we've officially hit the line where you're too sensitive. You know, it was cool up until this point, but now we're to the point where you're too sensitive. You're asking for people to take your feelings into account for their own personal lives and truths. The reason why I'm not sure we'll live to see when that day happens, when everyone will be judgment free in that way, is because I don't think the ego of the average person, women specifically, I don't think that ego is going away. And I think as long as the ego is intact, if a man comes up and says anything to the effect of, "I'd like another woman," or "I have eyes for another woman," or "there's another woman who could possibly occupy close to the same space that you do," I think when that moment comes up, the ego comes in, and we're back at square one. That's why I'm not ever sure, because there needs to be a there's going to be retaliation for you hurting my feelings, and that's where the judgment's going to come in.
Well, it's fear. It's fear-based. I mean, it's fear-based, but it's understandable. It's evolutionary. A woman had to have a man to protect her. Right. When women start making more money and we don't need a man to protect us, then there's going to be a dynamic change too. We're not going to need, so it's fear-based that if you're going to want to be with another woman, you're going to leave me and I'm going to be left. And then I'm vulnerable. Just so there's a caveman aspect to that. But there's also, it's a rejection. It's an interesting thing what you're talking about. The whole ego thing we have kind of gone on a pendulum. What were you going to say, Crystal?
I was going to say, the reason we'll never reach any there is because there's no universal perspective. Like, even among our generation, you can narrow it all the way down to the most specific demographic, and we don't think the same. So we're never gonna listen. The guy that was raised, is your age, is your color, the same, just like you, Mac, won't have the same perspective and traumas and insecurities or bravery or honesty. This exact same type of person isn't even the same. Mm-hmm. So how can we reach some universal, everyone's this? No.
I'll tell you exactly how. I'll tell you exactly how it can happen.
We're drops in the bucket. We're drops in the bucket, though. If you
No.
person is changing and evolving, there will be some people that get to that freedom.
No, I hear you, and I don't disagree. I'll tell you how it can happen. I don't think it will, but I'll tell you how it can happen. We'd have to all agree on, like you said, there's no universal perspective, mm-hmm. but there are universal, undeniable facts, right? There are things that just can't be denied. This is when we start getting to the math of it. Math-wise, there are more women than men, right?
How many are gay? How many are trans? How many are gay? How many are trans? You can't even do that with
still more women than men. Still more women than men. Like even with those things.
Every man doesn't want a woman either. So like math.
I'm taking that into account.
Okay.
Still more women than men. When you come to men who want women and women who want men, the number is still somewhere around 3-1, 4-1, right? The people who I've seen who have, and then there's the universal truth that your trauma may not be your fault, but fixing it is your responsibility, right? 100% up to you to fix. People should not have to walk on eggshells to tiptoe around your trauma because you never dealt with it, right? Your triggers because you never dealt with it. That's a universal.
Fixing or just learning to live with it,
or whatever you need to call it, like whatever you need to call it. Coping, fixing, healing, whatever. But whatever words you use for it, it's
understanding it and figuring out how to continue in life.
It's your responsibility to make sure that people around you don't have to suffer your trauma because you've decided to just leave it alone. Like that needs to be a universal truth. Right. That needs to be.
Matt, I have to ask you now, this is going to sound very fundamental, but so I hear a lot of your thoughts of like more women and I've thought about this too. There was a time when I was like, why aren't there brother husbands? Like I would like Adam Levine and Blake Shelton at the same time. Because one could like be my country guy and like pick me up and throw me over his shoulder, and then I could just be cool with Adam Levine. So like I can see that being good too, although there's not enough men, and you're right. But here's the thing. Then I watched the show like Sister Wives, and I'm like, God, that looks like a freaking nightmare. Like that guy's not happy. He's got 4 women. He is not a happy dude. He's happy with like one of them. And the rest of him, it's just his life is just looks miserable. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think there's some of it in fantasy. It sounds really good, but then boy, you see real people living it.
We're not raised and trained as men to be polyamorous, even though it may be a more natural state, seeing the state of the world right now and seeing what the numbers are. Like polyamory has always been a thing. Men have gotten away from being trained to be. If you're trained to be a husband, that means what? It just go traditional. What
society has trained you to be.
Right. Fixing stuff, building stuff, protecting stuff. There are certain things. Right. There are certain things that come. Right. Killing the bug. There are certain things that come with that. As men, as society has evolved a certain way and away from polyamory, we have not been taught how to manage arguments between multiple women, choose your women a certain way, or have the women choose you and reject the things that aren't going to be good for a household, and know yourself well enough to know what you can deal with when it comes to different women across the board. We've gotten away from that kind of training. So of course there's going to be toxic polyamorous couples where the man is just being overwhelmed because he's never been taught that. They've never been taught. They don't know what it is to be wives at that level. But I digress. I believe that when we talk about this, I look at the polyamorous crowd as kind of the linchpin of this whole thing for 2 main reasons. One, they've accepted a couple of universal truths about men and women, right? And I'm talking about the real ones. I'm not talking about the people who just got in it for sex. And two, the honesty and communication levels that have to take place in order for that relationship to be successful is very advanced compared to the normal one-on-one monogamous couple. And
I will agree with that.
The need to treat your trauma and to treat your triggers in that crowd is in the forefront. They don't even play with that, because you can't come in being jealous. You can't come in being insecure. You'll fuck it up. And they all know that. So they all deal with that right off the rip. I think
or it's just a natural thing. They don't have to fix their jealousy. They just aren't jealous people. My sister is trans non-binary, married to a woman, and they are, what's it called? Consensually non-monogamous. All these words.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to remember.
Doesn't like the she pronoun, fine.
Yeah.
Married to a woman, awesome couple / they also are into each other, having other people, if that's what they're happy for their partner to be happy. They went on a
Mhm.
double date off of Tinder it turned out to be a couple or partners. They matched with certain people and then they looked at the calendars and they're like, wait, are you meeting somebody named this? Are you meeting? And the other people were a couple that are
It's a small world.
non-monogamous, consensually non-monogamous. But they don't deal with their jealousy. To me, love is a little bit jealous. That's mine.
Well, it depends. If it's possessive.
Yeah, but I like a little bit of that. Maybe it's toxic. I don't know where it comes from. It's not like, get your hands off my man. It's like, I love that he reserves certain things just for me.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too.
My sister and their partner love seeing their partner turned on by someone else. What? To me, that's crazy. But to them, it's perfectly natural. It's how they feel.
And I think what you're bringing up, Mecca, is that, and I agree, it's the communication, right? And I've seen this in like dom sub relationships where it's a similar thing. Like there's more communication. And I was in one once where I was dominant, and that's where I tend to be more comfortable. Our relationship, the sex wasn't great because of other things, but the communication it really brought us closer because we really talked more about what turns us on, like what are our limits, what are things we could try. And sometimes we would try stuff and it wasn't satisfying for either of us. And it was like, wow, that really wasn't fun.
Yeah,
but
right.
boy, this thing was really fun that we tried. But we talked about it. There was such a depth, and he had never, I mean, he was very alpha. He had never talked about any of this stuff before with any of his past relationships, but we had broke that barrier. I mean, I think it was something stupid because I think I pinched his nipples or something, and then I picked up on that he liked it. And I was like, hey, I think I know something. And then we started going to, and then he opened up. So sometimes it's being open, you talk about that. You just have to find the right person that's going to be open to that. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, we can play. We can actually play at this and dive in deeper.
We had a great idea. I think Mecca had a great idea before we started the show, which is, as you like at the end of life, where there's this beautiful place where you can explore all these things, when there's no more fear and you just go to a beautiful, what is it? A hostel
brothel.
A hostel brothel where you're old as shit and there's all these naked, beautiful
hospice
brothel.
Hostel is what you stay in Europe when you're a college student and you're traveling around.
But this place ain't cheap. First of all,
right. This would have to be really expensive.
This is my retirement plan for you to retire and go to the brothel.
And you know what? Why couldn't women have this too? But you know what women would want? They would want men of all different ages, but just telling them how beautiful they are and like, hey, let's watch Hallmark together. Hey, you are beautiful. Like it would be less. And it's interesting because sometimes women treat men the way that they think they would want to be treated instead of the reverse. And it's like guys are visual. They're sexual. Women it's all about love. It's like they fall in love with their brains. Men fall in love with their eyes. And so a woman's hospice brothel would just be wonderful men that are just lovely and tell them that they're beautiful and talk about their feelings.
And listen to them all day.
Listen to us.
And listen to them all day. But I still think the money, though, because this is the thing. I have a friend of mine who's a male model, and he has gay guys that subscribe to him on OnlyFans. And he's like, how do I get more women? And I'm like, it's just going to be really different. You on an OnlyFans, first of all, women aren't going to tend to pay for sex, but they'll maybe pay for like a boyfriend experience if they can feel like they can get that. But that's the big difference.
You want good morning texts. Sorry.
Good morning. Oh, good morning, baby. I mean, a handsome guy that would be, I might subscribe to that.
Guy that thinks about you regularly is
right.
What's in it for me?
I'm on your brain. A happy woman.
What's in it for me?
A happy woman that wants to please you. That's what. When you talk to me nice, I give all the sex vibes back.
I'm
turned on by the mental. That's why.
Here's the issue. You just took it anecdotal again, and I was speaking in general. Most dudes don't experience that when they give out that kind of good stuff because women feel
Guys don't give out that stuff.
because women feel they're entitled to it. They think it's just something you're supposed to do. So they don't feel the need to give back anything. And this is where we start getting into these other kind of conversations about entitlement. This is where it
Life
gets
is
a little.
about reciprocation. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that. You
Yeah, I mean, listen, even with my OnlyFans guys, I mean, they love when I send them voice notes. They, but I also know that they like when I send them a close-up of my privates, like they love that. Or when I say dirty stuff on my little captions, it's visual, it's different. That's why when I wrote the book, I made it short. You know why? Because I talked to my guys and they're like, well, just don't make it long. Can you bullet point it?
Right. Don't make it complicated.
And I did. It's 62 pages. And I'll tell you what, it's like freaking large print because the guys aren't going to sit around. Women are going to sit around and they're going to read a self-help book that's 300 pages. I'm saying this in general. There are probably guys that would do that. But I think for the most part, guys are like, tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I need to know. And that's why this is, and I did the narration too of this. And it was funny because I did it. So I went to a studio, put the headphones on, and I was reading my own stuff. And then sometimes, and you guys are more well-versed in this world, recording and stuff, but I was like, damn, that was a run-on sentence. I barely could get that out or I'd have to start over again because I was like, who the hell wrote this? Oh, I did. What the hell?
You should make it I was just kidding. To really get it guys into it, make it a picture book.
Well,
that was disrespectful. That was so disrespectful. That was so foul.
No, actually, I'm thinking about a second. I'm follow up to this. And yes, and here's the deal. Like the difference is with men and women, and this is, the love languages stuff, but, and it's generalities, but this is why guys send me unsolicited dick pics, which is fine. I'm in this business. It's different, right? But I also wanted to let them know, like, hey, listen, in the real world, lead with your face, lead with your personality. Now, a woman sending a boob pic, most guys are probably going to be like, yes, now that's fun.
How to say hello.
That's a good morning. Hello, that's a good morning. But, that's the difference.
Can you tell people where to go find this book? We're officially up against it. We're out of time.
Yes.
And I could do this all day, but let everybody know where they can find you, please.
Because you also are going to start like a financial planning thing for end of life, the hospice brothel, where guys can save up for this, and then when they've been diagnosed with something at end of life, then they just have to get to probably Nevada. And then you just will have a bunch of sex workers there making their dreams come true. And then hopefully they die as they're coming. I think that was the main.
It was called I'm Gonna Come and Go at the Same Time. It's called
come and go at the same time.
It's called recycling.
No, come and go hospice.
It's called recycling.
Come and go heavenly estate. So my book is on Amazon. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's a little website. Amazon.com. That's where you can get this little book. There I am, different shirt, looks the same. But you can get this little helpful manual. It comes in paperback, obviously. It also comes in Audible, and it's on iTunes. It's crazy. I'm a published author.
And where can they find you on? Yeah, where's all that stuff?
Yeah, so for all my stuff, obviously I'm on Instagram, Elena St. James. But I want Elena is probably the easiest way to get to my OnlyFans. I'm, obviously there. I have a website. As Crystal mentioned earlier, it's ElenaSt.James.com. So there's a lot of ways to find me. I'm all over the place. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, YouTube. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
Nice.
Well, it's good that one of the places you're all over is this place. We thank you so much for coming in and being a guest for us and having this good old conversation for an hour. Let's get that second book coming and come on back. Let's talk about it again.
I have an idea. Yeah, I have an idea. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be more visual.
Yeah, don't blow it up now.
I'm not going to.
They got to come back and hear this.
So that was the tease.
Yeah.
She has an
In the
idea.
meantime, in between time, I'm your man, Mr. Mac.
And I'm Crystal Leven.
This has been the M+M+M show, aka the
Okay.
show. May you live as long as you want and never want as long as you live. Do us all a favor. Go get laid. Peace.
Subscribe to her.